It's the school's fault. It's the school's fault that children are behaving the way they are. It's the police's fault because they don't do their job properly. It's the nurse's fault that our children are not well. It's the doctor's fault because they're not prescribing the right tablets. It's the fault of the neighbor because they didn't watch my child. It's everybody else's fault but our own as the parents. So who's parenting our kids? So I'm sure you've come across this phrase before that it takes a village to raise a child. Now, this is something that we really believe in back home where I'm from. I'm from Zimbabwe, Africa. Shout out. We strongly believe that it takes a village to raise a child. And you know what? If I think back to my childhood, like, you couldn't go off and do random shit. Like, you couldn't, we always had this fear. Like, if I go off and do some really stupid shit, maybe the neighbor will see, maybe I'll bump into my auntie, maybe one of my auntie's friends will see, and I'll be in trouble. If they don't go back and tell my mom or my grandmother, chances are they'll tell me off and embarrass me in front of my friends. So I'm not about to go and do that. Like, no. And then I moved to this country and everybody like minds their own business. I live in England for those that are not sure. Everybody just minds their own business to the point where the kids are just off doing some random shit. For real. Kids just do some random shit. Wait, I'm even looking at it like, I'm about to reprimand somebody's child. Like, what are you doing? Stop it. Stop it. Think. How? Don't be silly, man. Focus. Now go home and tell your mother I told you off. And in fact, let her phone me so I can tell her why I told you. No, for real, because that's the way it operates back home. And I find that in the situation where we're not acting as a village, we're not bringing our kids up together, or we're not helping each other out. And it's not to necessarily say helping each other out as in you must now go and discipline my child. No, but providing or reinforcing those boundaries so that the kids don't get into bullshit. Because of the lack of this, our kids are doing all kinds of stuff out in these streets. The amount of kids that are ending up in prison, especially black kids, the amount of our children that are ending up in prison, African kids, and the mad thing is, in our communities, we're still like, oh, did you know that so-and-so's son is gone to prison? Did you? Do you know what he did? Do you know what he did? Oh my God, that child. But can you blame a child? Let's be for real. Let's just hold up. Sorry, I'm getting really hyper because this topic really makes me really hyper. Can we blame the child when they misbehave? Okay, let's look at it in a Zimbabwean context. I can't speak for other nations because like people from Nigeria and people from Jamaica have been here for a really long time, so they've had time to establish the community spirit or work together to be able to do better for their kids. Speaking from a Zimbabwean context, yeah? Don't come for me in the comments, you trolls. But anyway, come for me, let's talk about it. Speaking from a Zimbabwean perspective, we come to this country, we're recent immigrants. Most of us have been here maybe 15 years. It's not that long, you know. Our kids are 15, 16, 18. Some of us are a little bit older, a lot of much younger. But we've come into this country and most of us chase the pound. Let's keep it 100. And we don't chase the pound because we want to live lavish, extravagant lifestyles. We chase the pound because we've got families to support back home. Let's keep it real. We also want to uphold a certain standard of living here. We want to be able to drive the nice cars and stuff. So we have to chase the pound. What does chasing the pound look like? Working shifts. Working mad shifts. Like we're going to work mad 12-hour shifts back to back sometimes if we can. If I can go in and do a day shift somewhere and then do a sleepover somewhere else, then I'm going to do that. And that's fine. That's cool. That's fair enough. But where are the children? Who's taking care of the children? 9 times out of 10, there's some random auntie somewhere who's looking after the kids. And they don't have time to discipline your kids properly. They don't have time to do that because they're also trying to chase the pound. They're also trying to make sure that the 15 other kids they have in the house are also taken care of. So as a result, what happens? The children have to parent themselves. Then there comes a situation where maybe the child is acting up in school or whatever, and then we blame the teachers. And it's not something that's just unique to us as Zimbabweans. It's something that happens even in the British circles. People will be blaming the teachers, like, it's the teacher's fault that my daughter's pregnant. She should have taught, or the teacher should have taught, the school should have taught my child about contraceptive in it. It's the school's fault. It's the system's fault. The system's broken. But when it comes to certain things, it's not their responsibility. It's our responsibility as the parents to sort it out. If I'm out there working shifts, mad hour shifts, yeah, so that I can build my luxurious home, or I can take care of whoever and all of this stuff, who's taking care of my kids? And then we wonder why the kids act out in the way that they do. There was a video that was circulating about this child that was just throwing a tantrum, and people were like, oh my God, this boy's got autism, this boy's got whatever. And, you know, everyone's labeling, you know, our social media doctors, how we are. Everybody's labeling stuff. And if you actually take a step back and listen to what this boy is saying, he's just crying out for some love and attention from his mom. Because mom's out there chasing shifts. And it's really difficult as an immigrant or as a migrant. It's really difficult because we have to try and find the balance between upholding a home and sustaining those at home. There's a lot of pressure. And we're going to do another video. I feel like we need to do another video about the types of pressures that we have when we come to the grass is green land. I like to call it the grass is green land, because we all want to get to England or the or the USA or whatever because the grass is greener. But we don't talk about the struggles and the hardships that are actually there when we get there. We don't talk about the fact that we hardly sleep properly because you're chasing shifts. And if you're not chasing shifts, you're worried about your kids. You don't talk about that stuff. We don't talk about our issues with alcohol, with our issues of depression. We don't talk about all that stuff because we keep on saying that life is better here. You know? Okay. Who's bringing up our kids? Let's talk about it. Who's bringing up our kids? In your view, maybe I've got a really warped view of the whole thing. You tell me, when you're looking at the situation, who is bringing up our kids? Whose responsibility is it to bring up our children? Please comment below. Please, I feel like we really need to talk about this. Like, comment, share. Thank you for your time today, and we'll get together soon, Danny.